Everybody's will change. Good afternoon, Mr. Vinay Kumar, sir. Hi, this is Venkat here from SM Engine.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Venkat.
Great. In fact, I just had a call from Nidhi. She just called me up. So, yeah, so
Yeah,
she
okay,
shared the
okay.
link as well with
Yes, 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 she was telling, yeah.
yeah. So, yeah.
Right, right. So good that this is link is up now. I would need your help in establishing, I think,
The
what
backdrop?
I got mail from you on, yeah, on the
Okay.
backdrop, that how we can
Yeah,
establish
so
this.
probably
So
Anjali, if
because
you
we
can
generally
just,
use Teams, not Zoom.
I understand, I understand. Anjali, can you just explain?
Yes, I'll explain. Sir, on your left, there's a icon start video. Over there, there's a small arrow. There it says choose virtual background.
Okay, choose virtual background. Just a minute, let me see. What I see, if there are some more options, this is stop video, rename, pin.
No,
You
so
are
what you
talking
have to
about
do
this
is, no,
add
no.
profile picture.
Yeah, so all you have to do, so first of all, you can save that image which Isha have shared with you on a folder. And then when you click on choose virtual
Yes,
background, sir,
yes.
Yes,
on the just below your image, you can see
What?
add image plus button. If you just
plus
click
sign.
on the
Yes.
add image plus sign and click on add image, then you can choose that image from that folder. First, you have to save that image in
Okay.
some
On
folder
your desktop.
on a desktop or
Hmm.
Hi, Mr. Singh, Shweta here. I think Anjali, everyone would need a quick
Yes.
demo for the backdrop.
Hmm.
So if you would like, you can quickly show it when everyone joins. So then it becomes easier. It's
Hmm.
350. So at 3:55, if you can give a small demo to everyone, so then it'll become easier.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Hi, Isha. Oh, Karishma, hi.
She's still connecting to the audio.
I'll have to ask her to change the backdrop, Anjali.
Shweta, once everyone joins in, that time can I give the demo?
Yeah. I think we are waiting for Mr. Narang. Karishma, hi, Shweta here.
Shweta, how are you?
I'm good, thank you so much. I think we are waiting for Mr. Narang to join in.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll
He's
do a
joining
like,
in a minute.
yeah, only Mr. Narang is left, I guess. So for backdrop, my colleague Anjali from Marco, she'll quickly show you how to put the backdrop, the one which we have shared.
Right. I also have to put this. Yeah.
Shall we wait for Mr. Narang?
Yes, sir is there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Mr. Hi,
So I
Mr.
think
Narang.
Mr. Akshay is not there. He is yet to join.
He is very much here.
Yeah, he's here. He's here.
Okay.
so I see the logo now. Is it okay?
Yeah,
Is it
Yes,
yeah.
it's
visible
okay.
right way?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, fine.
Good afternoon, Mr. Narang. Shweta here.
Afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, sir. So, my colleague Anjali from Marcom, we have sent a small backdrop. she'll quickly, share it how to basically put the backdrop.
No, I cannot. My system does not support virtual background. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have an old laptop, though it is
No problem.
an old one. It doesn't support virtual. So
I think my logo is coming reverse way, right? It is mirror image of it. Is it this way?
No, to us it is in the correct way.
It is okay. It is okay.
For me,
Okay, fine.
That's the problem.
Anjali, over to you.
Yes. Dr. Singh, we see your background getting distorted.
Yeah, so it's a hardware issue of the system configuration.
what about me? Is it okay?
No, sir, your background is getting distorted.
Why
So
is my
it is
name?
better that you remove the background.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
why is it my name Amarjit Singh?
No. Your name is not Amarjit.
So you can rename your.
I think there is some issue.
So where is Dr. Amarjit has joined or not? Yeah. Akshay is also there. I can see Akshay also. Call Dr. Amarjit.
There is some issue. It does not allow me to name. I just log in again and see. Because it just shows me Amarjit Singh.
Sir, I will rename you.
Okay. I'm Akshay.
Okay.
It should be AY.
I'm doing that, yes. It's proper now. So your complete name. So you are on mute.
Akshay Mishra, and I represent DSP Works.
So you can actually remove your background because it's not supporting on your system and it's getting distorted. Yes, it's better now.
Hello, Dr. Amarjit, are you joining? Are you okay? Okay, just we are waiting on for you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so Dr. Amarjit is also joining in a minute.
So, sir, you need all participant or panelists to have video on right from the beginning, or it will be
I
later.
think in the beginning, let
What
us
is the
have that.
protocol?
Video you can keep. If bandwidth allows, you can always keep. So anyway, except the presentation time, which anyway Zoom will put it on the top, we can keep the videos on.
Yeah.
Or at least when you are speaking, rest is your
Okay.
choice.
Sure.
If you're going to the washroom, etc., you can switch off the video. Okay, so
Yeah.
Dr. Amarjit is also coming online.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Amarjit.
Mr. Narang, Shweta here.
Yeah.
So my colleague Anjali will play a small video to begin in next 4 minutes.
Okay.
And then she'll hand the floor over to, she'll hand the floor over to you.
So who is going to introduce the panelists? I was told that Venkatesh or you guys will do it.
We have spoken to Isha. I think it's supposed to be done by you, since we did not get any mail for that. We don't have the bio with us, Mr. Narang.
Okay, then I will introduce them just like the way I know them.
Okay, sure, sure.
So I know them personally. Okay.
No problem, Mr. Narang.
I think because the formal bios, I'm not good at reading. You know.
No problem. So we'll in next at 3:02 we'll play the video. My colleague Anjali will start, and then
Whenever you are ready, we are on already.
yeah, we'll open it for attendees in next 4 minutes.
Do you know how to change the background?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
my colleague Anjali will help you.
Sir, I'll guide you. On the left-hand side, there's an icon start video. There's a small arrow over it in more options.
No, so I'm already within the Zoom app, right?
Okay, you are on the Zoom app.
Sir, are you on the phone or on the laptop?
Laptop.
तो लैपटॉप में आप नीचे देखेंगे आपका स्टार्ट वीडियो का एक आइकन है.
हाँ, स्टॉप वीडियो का है. हाँ, सॉरी. अच्छा, उसमें वीडियो सेटिंग्स. ओके. एंड
So
क्रिएट
there's
वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड.
choose virtual background.
Understood.
And there's a plus sign where you can add
Sure.
image.
Yeah. Okay. Is it coming out fine now?
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
So my laptop does not support a virtual background. So I have to do with the natural background.
You have a nice background already, sir.
Yeah.
It's 15 hours.
So that's why I'm sitting in my drawing room only. This is a better background.
So Shweta, it's 3 o'clock. Can we open up for the attendees now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are starting the webinar for the attendees, and in next 2 minutes, we'll play a countdown video followed by a smart cards expo video, and then the panelists can take over.
Sure.
Shall we start with the countdown video?
Sure. We are all set. Up to you guys.
Okay.
Anjali, 2 minutes and you can start. Thanks.
Yeah, we have very less attendees yet.
Anjali, you can play the video. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm really excited to learn that Messinvention India is organizing the online version of the Smart Cards Expo and IoT India Expo. So let's reconnect and re-engage in this upcoming online edition. So block your calendars and see you soon.
I'm really excited to learn that Messinvention India is organizing the online version of Smart Card Expo and IoT India Expo. So block the dates for 3rd, 4th, 5th of November 2020. Thank you.
We are excited to participate at the digital version of Smart Card Expo in 2020. Online version of Smart Card Expo will have no geographical barrier to connecting with each other. Thank you.
Let us reconnect and re-engage at the upcoming online edition. So block your dates for 3rd, 4th and 5th of November 2020. Thank you.
I'm glad to invite you all at this online expo, which is starting from 3rd to 5th of November 2020. Block your dates, please be there. Let's meet, let's collaborate. Thank you.
Let us reconnect and re-engage at this online edition. So block your dates for 3rd, 4th and 5th of November 2020. See you there.
We're really excited to be a part of this virtual event this time. We really hope to see you at our virtual booth at the Smart Card Expo 2020. Looking forward to see you all.
So over to you.
Hello and good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to this very interesting and very, very relevant in the current times, a webinar organized by the Electronic Sector Skill Council on the capacity building for IoT from design to deployment. And just to set a little bit of context before I say, but before that, let me introduce my fellow panelists. So I have with me Dr. Amarjeet Singh, who is CTO and is a mentor of a new startup, Genetics. His background is that he was based essentially from IIT Delhi as a student, but then he was a faculty in IIT Delhi, and he has a small startup on the energy management where they created, and now they are doing very interesting and scaling up very rapidly even with the footprint beyond India. And they have been into energy management space, IoT enabled, and they have end-to-end experience of design to deployment scenario. Then I have Akshay Mishra, who is a hardcore hands-on designer at least I know him for last more than 15 years as a practicing design engineer and an entrepreneur. And he has also been doing a lot of cutting edge design sites for last 15 years that I know of him. And then we have Vinay Thapalial from ST Microelectronics, whom I know in fact for more than 20 years. Am I right, Vinay? And he is basically, he's a hands-on design engineer also, but in his current profile, he's handling complete application support for all the MCUs. And as you know, ST has got a lot of focus on IoT and this thing. So he'll be sharing his thoughts on how organized silicon companies, support the training, skilling, and all that. And then last but not the least, we have Karishma Agrawal from ESSI, who will be sharing the basic perspective and the kind of role that ESSI is trying to, play in the electronic sector, ESDM, Indian ESDM, to equip our engineers and skill our, young breed to meet the changing requirements of the global ecosystem in this domain. So I think without getting into that, let me just to start talking about what is IoT. Why IoT was there? I think why not any other? Why don't we talk about electronics? Complete, you can say, portfolio like electronic system design and manufacturing ecosystem. Why? Because IoT basically covers each and every domain, if you really ask me. And a lot of people have tried to define it in multiple ways, but the way I would like to define it in a very simple manner is Internet of Things is all about heterogeneous and aware devices. They are interacting with each other to simplify people's life in some way or the other. Like they are here to solve some problems. Not like if you really ask me, I personally would not call a smart toothbrush or a smart shoe or a smart hat as an real IoT application. So IoT technology is an enabler. It's up to us, the innovators, the engineers, for us to define some kind of a problem that through IoT we are solving. If you really ask me, in the current times, like COVID times, IoT paradigm has really helped a lot in tracking in so many ways. I can keep on counting. In fact, I wrote an article in IEEE IoT magazine that how IoT is helping in the COVID times to with the different technologies bringing and all that kind of scenario. And I think IoT is not a new thing. If you really ask me, I would call it, we are in the state when IoT 2.0, as we are quite fond of giving everything a version number. So I would call it IoT as a 2.0 version, where IoT is already coming of age. And it's a concept which originally sounded like something out of science fiction. The Internet of Things is in fact a reality. and one that is bound to become even more widespread. From being considered as one of the most disruptive technologies in early years of the last decade, to coming on the verge of becoming the most profound technology by weaving itself into the fabric of everyday life until it becomes indissociable from it. So, but what are the key components of IoT? Just to give you set the background. So, if you really ask me, IoT has key components like right from sensing nodes to local embedded processing nodes, connectivity nodes, software to automate the tasks and enable new classes of services, remote embedded processing nodes, and last but not the least, full security across the signal path. So if you really look at the IoT ecosystem and value chain, it is perhaps the most diverse and complicated value chain of any industry or consortium that exists in the world. In fact, the gold rush to IoT is so pervasive that if you combine much of the value chain of most industry trade associations, standard bodies, the ecosystem partners of trade associations and standard bodies, and then add in different technology providers feeding to those respective industries, you get close to understanding the scope of the task. So what is the imperative? The imperative is, in spite of so much hype and even genuine potential, IoT paradigm has not really proliferated in a true sense to its desired potential. Why? Because bringing the Internet of Things to life requires comprehensive system approach, inclusive of intelligent processing and sensing technology, connectivity, software, and services, along with leading ecosystem of partners. It's not very simple. And if you really ask me where we are talking about, where is the maturity in the ecosystem, to give IoT the required momentum, device management platforms, cloud computing, big data sciences in the virtual world are already flourishing and well geared up to meet the expectation of the designers or even the stakeholders. But the physical world actually needs to catch up. The wireless and networking technologies need to mature very fast. We need innovative approaches in deployment of large sensor and actuator networks, a right kind of field ready, rugged, reliable, low energy, hardware modules and sensor nodes are really the gap area where I think a lot of gap areas there where we need to work on this thing. And seeing the current times, as they say, crisis often begets opportunity. Today, the global business dynamics is going to witness a sea change in coming times. All nations are now delving on their exit strategies from China and becoming self-reliant. Today, the world is in pursuit of new business models. India, a youthful nation known for its innovative zeal, can take the lead in providing a new work culture. India, with right blend of physical and virtual infrastructure, can emerge as the global nerve center of the complex modern multinational supply chain in the post-COVID-19 world. But the question is, can our engineers rise to the occasion and seize this opportunity? As they say, the mantra currently today for India is, and I would not like to steal the credit of creating this slogan, innovation-led design and design-led manufacturing was actually coined by my very dear friend PVG Menon, who is now the CEO of ESSI. And when he coined when he was the president of ISA, the Electronics, Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association Limited, way back. So I think it is very apt that we believe in that innovation-led design and design-led manufacturing, and that seems to be the only way forward to break this impasse. If we need to be a serious player in this competition, while also fulfilling perennial urgent goals of boosting manufacturing and creating jobs, a number of fundamental changes in policy and mindset are necessary. And ESSI is one of the, you can say, very, very important, you can say, spoke in the wheel for the government ecosystem. But then they need input, they need to understand what is that industry needs. So I think this discussion is going to lead on to what kind of requirements are there for the skilling that ESSI can look at. So, and just before diving into, I think I'd like to talk about two more things that are our national initiatives right now. You have heard about the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So what it is all about? It stands on 5 pillars. Economy, that brings quantum jump rather than incremental change. Infrastructure, that becomes the identity of modern India. And our system, that is technology driven. Demography, our source of energy. And demand, harnessed to the full potential. And as you all know, I don't know how many of you would really know, 11th May, every day, every year we celebrate as a National Technology Day. Why? Because it was on this day that India achieved a huge technological progression in our history. Uh, on this day, 1998, our scientists carried out successfully the nuclear test at Pokhran. So we every year we celebrate National Technology Day, and you'll say, why I'm talking about it now? Because this year, the theme of the National Technology Day was restart. Uh, and the full form is rebooting the economy through science, technology, and research translation. So I think this is the apt time and to jump into it and get a real understanding of how do we gear up ourselves as an electronic system design ecosystem, okay, to bring this change. But talking of change, I'll say in the engineer is actually the enabler of change. Why? He or she is equipped with the ability to take society's grand vision or magnification concepts and literally make it work. In a world of increasing unpredictability, the role of engineer assumes a critical level of significance. The days of the ivory tower academia bound engineers are over. Engineers of today and the future must acquire more than a nodding acquaintance with the concept of sustainability in all its aspects: social, environment, economic, and all the more they need to be hands-on engineers. And what they need to have is a passion. Why? Because passion is everything. You give that one emotion to anything and you are bound to excel. Passion helps you enjoy the journey as much as achieving the goal. Passion is the lever that helps lift the mundane to extraordinary, the mediocre to excellent. India has been, playing a major role in bringing innovation to the world to improve lives of its inhabitants from times immemorial. Be it from time of Aryabhat, who introduced the world to the power of zero, or in recent centuries, scientists like C.V. Raman, Satyendranath Bose, and many more. And one interesting example of electronics itself, I can give you Amar Bose, the Global Minister of Sound. Very interesting title that he has been given. And the Wizard of Sound who revolutionized sound. The engineer who changed the way world listens to music. He showed the world how a forefront academic research can spawn a global corporation and how science can directly change our lives. Bose Incorporated, as you all know, has been aptly called Apple of the audio world. He went into business so that he could do interesting things that hadn't been done before. Can we have a few more engineers like Amar Bose? Do we Indians have in it? Is our education system conducive to innovation? And what all we need to do to ensure that? And as they say, innovation, the moment we talk, everybody is harping about innovation. Some say innovation is the key to India's rise in electronics on the global arena. But how do we innovate without the competence to innovate? And how do we build this competence? I think that is the focus of our discussion today. And without delaying further, I think let's jump into the discussion and start hearing our experts. I think I would like to start with Akshay, with you, because you have been a hardcore design person, and even today you are mainly focused on design of all the cutting edge product system solutions. Yes, you do have entrepreneurship, but that is much on a smaller scale, if I may say so. You are more of an innovator and designer from your heart. Can we have your thoughts? What do you think about the kind of competence, skill set that we need to build, to make this IoT vision or our ESDM a real success in the global market?
Thank you, sir. I'm just catching on one of your line in terms of passion driving innovation and passion satisfying an entrepreneur. So passion is required because when you're an entrepreneur in very much in India and you're not paid for what you're doing, you don't end up paying. It's passion which keeps you growing. So I think that is very much important to keep you driving and going forward. So thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm going to speak my thoughts here. So what I would like to mention again, taking cue from you in terms of IoT has not caught up. Sir, IoT has caught up, but it has caught up in a slightly different way where everybody who gets onto a Arduino board and glows an LED, he says, I am an IoT engineer, मैंने design कर दिया है, अभी आप मेरे को बना के दे दो. So that is the same thing which has happened, which fails to look at the core of many things in terms of the requirement, in terms of how things have to grow and scale. And thereby that word innovation has got mutilated and abused in terms of what it should be and when do you call it an innovation, and when is it only a seed or an idea. So that is if something which can be taken, it works without the designer, it works without the people who designed it, developed it, works independently in the field, then you can call it successful. And only then you can cherish that, yes, this is working, this is something which can scale. And to achieve that, and only at that time you can say, no, no, this is something which I am proud of, or this has tried to create a difference or started to create a difference. So to reach that is where you can say that, yes, there has been a capacity building. That is where there has been a change which the engineer started to begin with. So I have some thoughts written down. I'll just try and figure on that it is not about this Arduino based LED blinking, but it is about trying to own the problem. So IoT, as you rightly mentioned, it is cross domain, cross functional. So if you need to look at a problem by a farmer or by some industry process for industry 4.0, you need to understand the problem, live with the problem, and then try and make a solution, build a solution, which is something which could obviously have been done by somebody using an Arduino, but you will have to look at various aspects for manufacturability, deployment, repair, and only then it can be taken to the market. And this is where you grow the team, break down the entire process into small morsels, which can be taken down by semi-skilled, unskilled people, so that it can be reproducible consistently. And that is the true job of the design engineer and of the team, to own the problem, define it, break it down into pieces which can be reproduced, which is something which is core. And that is where the capacity building is essential, that you can do these things repeatedly, so that maybe automation, maybe skilled manpower can do these kind of things. And that is where I think our training system has to progress, has to rise up to instruct that design means not only making something complex, but to bring it down so that it can be reproduced, scaled by semi-skilled people. Other thing which I think is necessary is an engineer, after his 4 years of engineering, has to go for a 6-month internship, just like your doctors do in MBBS after their MBBS, to a ITI school where they get their hands dirty in terms of looking at what is the skill set, what is the platform that the people they are going to work with are facing, what is the tool chain that they're working with. Because in India, if you see, we are using tools, we are not building tools. And what tools we are using, and when I say tools, I'm in this context, I mean the software tools, the development tools also, as well as if an IoT organization is going to work with systems, then we need to find out in terms of the housing, the electrical domain which they are going to work with. So find problems and challenges which the ITI technician is going to work with, figure out, so that they get a hands-on and realize the situation on the ground before they start contributing or think of contributing to the system. That is something which is very much essential to bring them to the ground and make them aware of the ground realities, which currently is missing. So there are these centers of excellences, but center of excellences are in these air-conditioned cabins with a nice 20-inch, 25-inch monitors there. And you are doing a Google, you put a report, you design something, but that does not take care of what is available, what problem it is going to solve. And I think that approach needs to change. And one final thing which I would like to add is that all the tenders and all the processes need to take cognizance that if the SME or a startup like us, they are hiring, then there has to be a cognizance, maybe in a tender, maybe in a process, in terms of recognizing that how many jobs this tender has created, what is the impact for this particular tender, this particular requirement, which is qualitative, so that if there is a import variant, then you know that this import variant is only going to create the job for 5 sales guys, but the local manufacturing is going to create a job for 15 local technicians. So if that is brought out, I think that can create a visibility in terms of what a SME is doing. I know it's difficult for a tender organization to come out with these kind of things, and system can be gamed, but we need to put a qualitative assessment to all these features also. This is my take in terms of how a design, as a design organization, in terms of competence building and bringing the competence to some limelight.
Yeah. I think that's a very good start. I think, and I can second your thoughts about this Arduino and Raspberry Pi. I've seen a lot of actual startups have deployed final products in the field based on Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and some Chinese module, and then they fail. Even at places like Bangalore Airport and so many other things, some very precise installation, and then they say every few hours it hangs up. And this is another thing that also actually creates a negative psyche in the customer's mind about IoT technology and technology as well as Indian ESDM. So I think that's a very relevant point. Dr. Amarjeet, now you also have been a hardcore designer, academician, and innovator, and you're scaled up with multiple levels of VC funding also to a successful startup, and you are also focused more on deployment scenario. You deploy your system end to end. So can you understand your thoughts and your experiences and the gap areas that you feel that can be filled up by someone?
Sure. So I think I'll again start to talk a little bit about design, and then I'll move on to the deployment thing.
Sure.
I somehow little bit disagree with you that Raspberry Pi. I think platforms like Raspberry Pi and Arduino are potentially the reasons why we are talking about IoT today, right? I agree with you that turning on a relay in a lab is very different from turning on that relay at 200 locations in India where there could be voltage fluctuations, etc., right? So, and I agree with what Akshay was saying that, when you turn on a relay in the lab, that doesn't mean you can actually turn on the relay at 200 or 2000 locations across the country because the field environment is different. So I think sort of these things are both a boon and both positive and negative for IoT, right?
Yeah,
everybody is talking about IoT because of Raspberry Pis and Arduinos out there, right? Because everybody gets to fiddle around with them. Yes, they are not deployment ready things, but quite honestly, we as a company have deployed about 3000 Raspberry Pis in the field now, right? Yes, you have Raspberry Pi by itself is not a stable system. We had to do a lot of engineering around it, add a watchdog, add a RTC, etc., around it to make sure that it runs reliably, right? And after understanding all of these issues over years, in fact, we have designed our own industrial grade card also, which uses now Raspberry Pi compute modules, and which sort of in a way solves many problems because the hang problem that you said comes because your OS is running from the SD card. But the moment the OS starts running from the eMMC, several of those issues gets resolved, right? So
I agree. I fully agree.
That's one thing that, so it took us about a couple of years, but we now have an industrial grade compute carrier board, which uses Raspberry Pi compute module and comes with a bunch of, we learned where Raspberry Pi lagged and sort of put in all our experiences into that design. So it has onboard RTC, watchdog, there's battery backup, onboard Modbus, etc., right? So wherever we understood that systems can fail, we have built systems to sort of address those. And now all our future deployments will be on that industrial grade card, right? So it's good to start off. And a startup that is now starting up need not look at Raspberry Pi, but can potentially use whatever we have learned from Raspberry Pi and created our own system to sort of just reuse that system rather than sort of reinventing the wheel. Having said that, the challenge is that, look, many people get attracted wrongly by the price of these hardware systems, right? Which eventually starts dictating the eventual price of the products in the market. Whether you are bidding for tenders or whether you are in front of a customer, he would say that, he can also search on Alibaba and say, look, this system is available for 100 rupees. Why are you charging me 1000 rupees, right? I mean, at some point you have to put your foot down and say that, look, then go and buy it from someone who can give it to you for 100 rupees, because I cannot sell it for less than 1,000 rupees, right? But that means that you sort of see, then it's a cycle. The customer goes through that 100 rupee product, fails for multiple years, and then may come back to you, right? But then you have waited long enough for that customer to come back, right? Can there be other ways where forums like these, can they promote that, yes, there are these low cost systems, but there is reliability, robustness, ruggedness that is required, right? For these hardware systems to work for long term in the field. And these things cannot be scaled up in a reasonably reliable way with hobbyist platforms, right? As hobbyist platforms, Arduinos and Raspberry Pis are good. So that's on the design side. I think in the last few years, things have evolved quite a bit. There are companies like us who are now who are building stable, rugged systems, again, using Raspberry Pi kind of platform. So whatever software you build can be directly ported onto the same OS, etc. So you don't need to worry about it. There are, like you said, there are now device management platforms that are out there that can be leveraged. There are low power wireless mesh that has been open source, Bluetooth 5, Open Thread from Google. They have sort of started coming out of age. So I think this is perhaps the right time when all these things can be brought together to create reliable, rugged systems. But one has to sort of be guided in the right way to make sure that these systems are rugged enough and sort of run for a long enough time. When we design systems, of course, we understood all of these problems, and sort of we, in a way, flipped the model, and we said that, okay, rather than selling hardware, right, can I sell the application, right? And hardware is just an enabler, right? In that case, then someone who has burned their fingers with hardware that doesn't work would then quickly jump onto this proposition, because they would say that, look, if hardware doesn't work, I don't pay you, right? And in a way, we are then putting our skin in the game and saying that, look, if this hardware doesn't work for next 3, 4, 5 years, right, then you don't pay me, right? So you get into the subscription, you only pay for what you get, rather than me selling you the hardware and then sort of running away from it.
Absolutely.
Right. So some of these business models have helped us gain customers which have burned their fingers in the past. And then when we also design, we keep deployment, because of such business models, we keep deployment and maintenance in mind from the very beginning, at the design stage itself. So to put things in context, our temperature sensor actually has 12 data streams, right? Temperature is just one of them, which is used for the application, but we have reboot counter, we have signal strength, we have many other things, which then help us understand the health of our own assets, which are deployed in the field, and proactively take actions on those health streams that are coming in, right? So when our designers design the systems, they start thinking from day zero, what are the different health parameters that I need to add, which will get tested during the deployment, and which will also be monitored on an ongoing basis to do remote troubleshooting or easy troubleshooting. Because at the end of the day, the very fact that IoT means systems that are deployed at scale. The moment they are deployed at scale, it creates a problem of maintaining at scale, right? So, for example, a company like ours, we have deployed our systems across more than 200 cities in India. Now, imagine the type of field force. So pretty much, sort of whatever field force, let's say a company like Luminous need to have to maintain their inverters, we would also need to have a similar field force if we don't think of troubleshooting and deployment as technology, and if we only think of it as a manpower problem, right? So today we don't, I mean, we only have people stationed across 4 or 5 cities, and they are managing these deployments across 200 cities in India, right? Much of our troubleshooting is done remotely because we have all these health streams coming in. We understand which systems are failing, why they are failing. We proactively replace them. When people actually go and deploy, so when our electrician goes to deploy the system in the field, uh, once they finish the deployment, they have to wait there, and we have built the backend technology where from the app they say that, okay, I have finished the deployment, and then we have a set of 50 100 tests that we run on the data that we start getting from that deployment, right, which check whether the deployment was done correctly or not, right, because the electrician is still on the site. Has he put the current sensor in the negative way?
Yeah, so sorry to butt in. The question is, what kind of skill sets are we looking at? That you feel at deployment people, design people. So the focus here is not on your organization as a competence center, but what kind of skill set we are looking at from the people when you hire them. And the gap area that you have felt the pinch.
Correct. So I think so there are a few things, right? One is so I was actually coming on to that only. So
Sorry.
see the electrician that goes and deploys, right? He cannot be my neighborhood electrician because that neighborhood electrician would sort of test the continuity using a bulb, right? While my electrician needs to have a sense of what a current CT is, etc., right? So we typically feel that people who can be trained, whether they are diploma holders or ITI people or not, but those who can be trained, those who can then use the basic apps, etc., right? That at least that sort of training, which could be actually delivered through a 3 month, 6 month period, right? And which is what we do. So when we hire a new electrician, he sort of acts as a helper to our trained electrician, does a few deployments as a helper before he starts doing deployments independently, because by doing those deployments as a helper, he understands what is to be done as processes. And the technology that is to be built to aid that deployment team or the troubleshooting team is where actually the focus should go, right? Because see, it's very expensive to get highly skilled manpower and deploy them at scale, right? For maintaining your IoT systems. So can you say that, look, it's a semi-skilled manpower aided by a very comprehensive piece of technology running in the back end, and together they solve the problem?
I think that's the right model, because that's what all the telecom, internet companies, by mobile companies, and all these your DTH companies, they have very semi-skilled people, but their backend is very strong, and that's how they deploy. They install all the modems.
So,
and
yeah. So I think
absolutely.
it's a good parallel, but it's not a fair parallel, right?
No, I understand
So,
that's a
correct.
basic.
Yeah,
standard
no.
of
The reason I'm so
exercise.
I think it's important for the audience to understand this. See, when a DTH guy comes in, all he needs to do is to plug in the device to power and connect a standard cable from, let's say, your set-top box to the TV. That's it. Everything else is software, right?
Yeah.
But when you go and deploy an IoT system in a retail store, right, it's not one single piece of hardware. There is a gateway, there are multiple sensing endpoints, there are multiple actuation endpoints. So again, I agree with you. Can those endpoints together with the gateway, can they be made plug and play?
Yeah.
Right, that is the first thing. So the hardware should be designed in a way. For example, today our LED indicators on the hardware indicate whether it's a good signal strength or bad signal strength. So they know how far the sensor has to go before, let's say, it will have poor signal strength, and in between they then have to put a routing node, right? So giving those kind of feedback to the deployment team so that it's as plug and play as possible.
Yeah.
And then creating technology at the back end and thinking of it from the design stage itself for that comprehensive back end technology, I think that is what would solve the problem.
I like that. I like that. Basically, what I was trying to indicate, scaling up the model which DTH and all the modern companies are using to the customized technology level, which IoT solution will need. I
Correct.
like that approach. Thank you very much. So I think we'll move to Vinay. And Vinay, you have been into supporting all the IoT companies for so many decades. Okay, so and you have been hand-holding design engineers. Of course, before that, you yourself were design engineer. As I very well know. But how do you, as an individual, and then as ST Microelectronics, look at this scenario and what kind of support that you are providing, and you think where you need some other agencies to complement your training support that you extend to your customers and your IoT designers or manufacturing companies? Vinay?
Yeah, thank you, Kishorji. And I think, yeah, is it audible now?
Yes,
Is it
very much.
audible?
Yeah, quite clear.
Okay. So thank you, Kishorji, and even the perspective Mr. Amarjeet or Mr. Akshay put forward is very much complementing the way today's scenario looks like. From my personal experience as a developer, when we, as a developer, I engaged into this industry. So first of all, the very much challenge is that what to opt for as a career, what to opt for. So that really becomes some time to really understand how to go on this. And slowly, when we as on the career ladder, I went into embedded field and started learning the new technologies. So obviously, like Mr. Akshay also said, that initially when we uh, are able to solve some of the basic things, so we feel that we are very much okay with to do it. But when we rub the hands with the real challenges, then we understand that it needs a lot of more uh, uh, the knowledge or the experience which will take us forward to real solve the real problems. So certainly, yes, as a embedded engineer, it is always important to understand that that there are a lot of more things, what they feel that initially they learn something and that is good enough, but it needs a lot of things. And Kishorji, you rightly said, because IoT itself is to solve the problems. It is not to really enable something as a product and intelligent product and we are happy with it, but it's important that you actually are solving some real problems, and real problem solving means you will have a real challenges. So that's what, as a developer, I believe. Now let me put forward as a company, when as a semiconductor company, how we see these challenges, and even with we are interacting with so many. So interacting with companies, but at the same time we also are working with the new engineers who are coming on board. So it's a bridge. So as a ST or similar companies are actually solving and seeing both the perspective of the industries. So if I see from the, as a beginner I started, so if I see as a beginner, so one of the challenge I see in IoT is to really understand for him, as we have some participants who are listening. It's important that they understand the elements of the IoT. They clearly understand that which are the elements of IoT, and accordingly, because that can be confusing for them to really choose as a career. So they have to really find out, okay, find IoT, what are the elements, and where they feel that they can set it as a career. Because IoT is you already mentioned that IoT is a mix of these systems. It is about not only talking about the services, it is talking about the nodes, services, gateways we talked about, the IT infrastructure which has to be in between for services. So it's a mix of lot of more elements which are put together, and then we are talking about this ecosystem. So in my opinion, IoT, if we have to think about evolving the IoT in India, it is important to evolve complete ecosystem as whole. It cannot be on one side. We have to see ecosystem, that right from the hardware side to services, how this complete ecosystem is evolving. For as a because if I see from services, IT infrastructure, certainly this is one of the matured infrastructure today, and it's easy. In fact, Mr. Akshay putting that, okay, sometime we get the engineers, and maybe after some time we see that these engineers moving to some other service industries. That's obvious, because today we have IT industry as which has been matured, and it's easy that once I learn something and I see now I have to go upward, so I have the choices, and as a to be a good employee or to have a good salary, then I move towards this services, which is quite mature. So it's important. We also have to see that right from the it means that it leaves the gap for the embedded. So if we are talking more of engineers who are going towards IT, it means the gap for the embedded remains less. And today, in fact, maybe other panelists, they would see when they are hiring the new engineers from the coming from the fresh or even from the industry, the one of the clear gap we see is that you don't get good embedded engineers in the site. You have to either train them themselves yourselves, but if you think that you have you're going to have some engineers who can quickly be deployable, it is difficult to find them. And this is the reason, because we have to really balance the IT system as well as the embedded system together. Because if I say that, okay, in embedded we have to struggle, we have less salary, we have to struggle more, and then you achieve to that level, rather than one immediate you are going to IT and probably you feel that you are well to do there with the good packages. So this ecosystem balance has to be increased. So we have to balance that ecosystem to make sure that we are talking a right ecosystem upscaling on both the fronts. So that's one. So I really see this gap, and so what to fill this gap, some of the areas could be like right, as I said, we have to encourage the complete developers in the embedded domain. So we can see that these developers also feel the equal opportunities in the field. And yes, maybe for me also, I believe that even today the engineers who are coming up, sometimes they are struggling. Either if they don't get into the companies, then they struggle that where to go, where to find these kind of skills. So excellence centers, maybe like ESSCI doing this job, excellence centers also is important. So but is he approachable, is he the approachable to these excellence centers, and those excellence centers really solving the real-time problems? If that can be a good combination of for these excellence centers, I believe that also can be one entry point for those people to come up and then quickly be ready for the industry. So I think these are some things what I see in the overall ecosystem. And when I talk about what ST is doing in this ecosystem, for this IoT ecosystem, so ST, one of our, first of all, it's a technology company. So we keep on supporting on the lot of emerging technologies which are coming up, whether we are talking about the smart sensors, because for IoT, sensors is one of the key element, and there are various ways that we can deploy those sensors. As Mr. Akshay or Mr. Amarjit already told that your power efficiency becomes quite important. So we also have to see that those the components, because ultimately you are talking about the components or semiconductors. Those semiconductors are chosen in a way that which are field deployable. They can be, they can run for the years, because if we are talking about batteries, probably in some IoT use cases you have to think about the use cases. Maybe it has to run for 10 years or 5 years. That is what the requirement is. So how you are choosing those components, so the right silicon mix. So it's important to have those semiconductors, and ST is working on all those emerging technologies, right from the sensors, you talk about technology, the wireless technologies, or even with the processing technologies, processing platforms. So that's what all these technologies ST has been working well. And apart from this, we also are working on the helping those technologies with the user-friendly environment. So it's very important, because technologies are there, but sometimes I see the dilemma from the people who are putting their hands on it, that it should be very easy to deployable. It's easy to develop, easy to deploy. So that way, ST has a lot of support available, or the similar companies of the semiconductors who are working on those platforms, whether it is starting from the basic microcontroller platforms, or you talk about smart sensor integration. We have the lot of tools, and these tools are not the academic tools. Actually, we are talking about those the technologies or the support which is field deployable. It means that these are the support which has been there. If the IoT teams or developers are integrating those technologies, we ensure that those are directly field deployable. And especially for that, ST also has been working very closely on safety and security. So because in IoT, safety and security again becomes very important. So like Dr. Amarjit said, that sometime it's important that, okay, fine, we deployed one platform in the field, and later on you realize that those platforms are very prone to security threats, and that also has to be taken today into account, because lot more deployment is happening. If you are talking about hundreds of cities, thousands of cities in coming time, so those deployment, if it is going to multiply, you also have to take care of it. So all these mature technologies which are available, ST as a similar company, we are helping to evolve this. To add on it, last point, that apart from this, ST also has got some startups lab program. So in case there are some good ideas, in fact, we also give that opportunity inside the ST platform, so that some good ideas which are really solving the problems, like you are talking about the real-time challenges. So we also house such opportunities to mature them, and to make sure that those companies are being helpful for the market. So these are some of the areas and gaps what ST is helping.
Thank you. I think you brought out some very interesting point, you and even Akshay. So I think one of the challenge that Akshay mentioned, I'd like to respond to that even as my personal experience. So I remember since early 80s and 90s, I would, even late 90s, I had engineers who stay with me for 5-6 years. But over a period of time, yes, that their duration expectancy in Arnhem has always decreased, and now 2 years is even very, very high. But then, as a small design house, independent design house, I could develop my business model around it. But as an organization, business organization, yeah, it doesn't work. But then how do we do this? This is a chicken and egg story. The problem is, in India, the weightage is given to the software, this thing. Hardware nobody values, and nobody can even train. We do not have any good mentors in hardware design, product design. That is also a gap area. So it's a chicken and egg story. So I always say, in embedded, anybody wants to do, you have to first do the hardware. Then I'll put you on the embedded software, because that's a very, very important thing, and that's a very good, interesting track record that my engineers have in the field today after 30-40 years. That some of they are so well value that someone who trained in Narnix in hardware today is getting more of the same contemporary engineers who are in software, or the embedded software even for that matter, because hardware skills are rare in India. So anybody who acquires, but how do we build this ecosystem? That's a challenge which we'll have to work together. But I'll not hog any more time. I think now we'll hear Karishma. What is the ESSI, perspective, and how ESS is trying to bridge this gap, and what is the initiative? If you would share that with the audience, I think that would be very, very important before we take out the question. Okay. You have a slide deck?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you all my co-panelists, because it is a very good platform where I am able to listen to each one of you, and you have shared wonderful inputs. Just let me share the screen. I will quickly run through my presentation, how ESSCI is helping industries actually in terms of capacity building. I hope it is visible to everybody. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, very much.
Karishma, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. So basically, the Electronic Sector Skill Council of India is working closely with Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship and National Skill Development Corporation to achieve the objective of Skill India mission. We are working to bridge the gap in ESDM sector. These are industry association, which these are the led, the ESSCI is led by 6 industry association, namely Alcina, Mate, IESA, SIAMA, IPCA, and ELCOMA. We have identified 9 subsector of ESDM, and we are working in every subsector of ESDM. So we have semiconductor and component subsector, we have industrial automation, e-mobility, EMS, consumer electronics and IT hardware, communication and broadcasting, security and surveillance, and solar and LED. So we have developed content and curriculum, and we have been developing the content and curriculum for the scaling in each 9 subsector. These are our prime roles and responsibilities. So basically, at ESSCI, what we are doing is we are doing market research to make the standard of skilling and whatever content we are delivering to the youth. So we are setting up a standard for the skilling. Then we are delivering those skill training program to our training partners and assessment partners on ground. We are the apex body for assessment and certification for the trainers, for assessor and candidates. We are strongly doing industry collaboration because the activities at ESSCI, what we are doing, in each activities, we need support from the industry. We need inputs from the industry, starting from the market research to the employment. So basically for us, industry collaboration is very, very important. The ESSCI has set a benchmark over the past 5 years. So we have trained around more than 1 million candidates across the country, and we have placed around 6 lakhs people in the country. We have 4,000 plus well-equipped training centers across the country. We have 7,000 certified trainers available with us. We have 3,200 certified assessors. We have developed 5 qualification packs training content for international market as well. We have 13 center of excellence in the country. We have developed 161 qualification packs training content across the 9 subsectors so far. And we have 200 plus subject matter experts from the industry again. So how ESSCI is catering to industry aligned skilling and upskilling? So here two perspectives are there. One is that industry engagement and what activities and services we are offering to industry along with industry engagement. So first we are doing market research. So we form committee which are represented by the industry and led by industry, where we are doing skill gap analysis, demand aggregation. Industry shares their input, what kind of requirements is there in the current scenario and what kind of requirement is yet to come in the future. So we as a here we have 9 subsector, and each subsector we have a committee. We actually call it National Occupational Standard Committee. So where we are doing the skill gap analysis to identify the job roles, and then we map with the occupational. So we are setting up the occupational map, and then on the basis of that we are developing the qualification pack. So it's a complete qualification pack which is including the level wise qualification, level 1 to level 10 as per the eligibility criteria and the skill requirement which we are getting from the industry. On the basis of that we are developing the content and curriculum. We have again the subject matter experts from the industry who are actually supporting us to develop the content and curriculum and training of the trainers and assessors who are actually going to deliver the training program on the ground level. So along with industry engagement, what are the services which we are offering to industry? It's basically skilling and upskilling, because we all know that skilling is required because a lot of technologies are coming up and we don't have skill resources. So we are getting the inputs from industry and we are delivering skilling to the youth. And upskilling is equally required because we know that technology changes very fast, and upskilling is equally required in the industry, and we have to train the people accordingly. So we are doing skilling and upskilling. We have center of excellence where we are actually going to implement these skilling and upskilling program. These are basically industry aligned training program which we are running in center of excellence. Model training center industry can also set up the model training center within their premises to for their captive requirements. And we are also doing micro entrepreneurship and livelihood project, because as we all know that when product comes to the market, so after deployment we have we have the people, we need people with a different kind of skill set. So that is why we are also implementing micro entrepreneurship and livelihood projects. Apprenticeship is we are implementing apprenticeship program because we all know that on the job training is equally important for the youth. So through the apprenticeship we are trying to deliver on the job training to the candidate, And here government is also supporting industries in terms of incentive scheme in the apprenticeship program. We are also doing campus engagement program to promote the vocational education. So here again we are needing support from the industry so that we can approach on the job training model in the vocational training program, and we can deliver the ready-made talent people to the industry. We are also providing a platform, job portal, where industry can give their demand, current demand as well as the future demand, to map the skill talent through the portal. These are the business skill India mission. So basically, we are very closely working with the
Can you switch off the video?
central government as well as the state.
I think Karishma's internet has gone.
Yeah, okay, then never mind. So I think she has done most of it, but I think we'll see what opportunity we have later on when she logs in. So I think one of the things that I'd like to quickly talk about is and sum it up. So we have been talking about the lack of skill sets and the skill set that we need. So let me sum up in a very okay.
Yes,
Karishma, you are back. Karishma, you are back.
Yes, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, I can see you. So can you finish your last two slides? I think you had, or one slide rather, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. And in case there's a bandwidth problem, you can switch off your video. Keep the slide on.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was going through this slide only. So basically, we have in partnership with the government scheme, with the central and the state as well. We are closely working with the academia, industry, and the candidate, because candidate can also become because upskilling is required, and the candidate can upgrade their skill, their knowledge, so they can also become the partner of the Skill India mission. So basically, this is the overview of the Electronic Sector Skill Council of India, what we are trying to do for the capacity building for each and every subsector of the electronics. And now I'm ready to take questions, sir, because I think there is some technical issue, I guess.
No, it's okay. So I think we'll continue with the discussion. I think so. I think just to sum up the skill set gap, the basic skill sets that we need for IoT. Whether you are into design or anything basic. So I think as I already said, that Indian design engineers, what kind of skills they need is, as we know, every true IoT application or solution needs cross-domain expertise. And internet per se has been considered the forte and playing field for software professionals. But IoT, as we have just discussed, brings new challenges in the way sensor fusion, communication technologies, energy, power management of the edge nodes, etc. The challenges they bring in. So unless a design engineer can design most optimized edge nodes and communication nodes, the solution shall not pass the acid test of a reliable and sustained performance in the field deployment scenario. So for this, what kind of competencies we need? I just list a few things. Basic electronics fundamentals. So IoT is not only software, it's about hardware, as everybody is trying to emphasize. So basic electronic fundamentals need to be revised with a practical approach, not on a theoretical rote learning, mugging kind of a temperament, including but not limited to sensors, analog, power, RF, and various compliance issues in hardware design. Because see, when you're doing a product design and you deploy it in the field, it has to be compliance ready for so many aspects, whether environmental, whether RF interface, EMI, EMC, and based on the domain that you are going to deploy your product system solution, that domain specific compliances may also be needed, for which your product needs to be ready. And so when you're designing, you need to understand the compliance implications of that particular product and the particular domain in which you are trying to deploy that system. Then you need to understand in-depth understanding of different communication technologies, protocols and standards, particularly relevant to the domains relevant to your own application for which you are developing the project. Understanding of security, privacy, and socio-ethical implications of the solutions, services, and applications that you are trying to develop. Because see, with IoT and becoming all pervasive, there are a lot of concerns about security, privacy, and ethical implications. So whenever you're designing that, you need to be cognizant of those aspects, and then you need to take care of all the regulations. Like in Europe, we have GDPR. Okay, there are very strict regulations now in Europe, and India also is coming with its own data and privacy, data protection, privacy, regulations. So we need to understand that. Then embedded processing, data analytics, and other software skills, I think they are already considered a must. But the gap areas where we are. So these were the overall skills. But what is the gap area? Okay, gap area is hardcore and comprehensive product and system design capabilities. Hardware design is absolutely missing. So, with due respect to everybody, so why we are using these modules? If you really ask me, even the Raspberry Pi, even the compute, if I design my own hardware and have a volume, the cost will be less. But why we are still managing with the modules and the outsource, single board computers, is simply because we do not have that level of hardware competence to develop and then manufacture and then test those kind of boards. So we need to build that skill set at scale, very important. That's all. Then RF, analog, and mixed signal design, we do not have any competence in India. Reliability and compliance issues already. Then today we have a lot of hype. So I think everybody thinks it's a software game. But within the software again, let me say where are the gap areas. People are talking about AI and ML like nobody's business. Everybody says my IoT system is AI enabled. Okay, we are using machine learning. We are using all this. But even to be a good, even if you want to deploy, or leverage AI and ML in your product system solution, what is the competence? Do you understand linear algebra? These are some of the core, subjects that you need to be really very good at. Linear algebra, probability and statistics, multivariate calculus, design and analysis of algorithms, and random processes, which is also called advanced probability. Even for software people, they need to have a real good grip if they are, thinking of genuinely leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques in their IoT product system solutions. So I think these are some of the things. I'll come back to these other thoughts later. But I think now we need to start looking at any strategies that we can have now to build these skill sets. The gaps have been identified. Okay. And in case I've missed out something, I'll be happy to, you can add a few more gap areas in the skills. But then how do we get on to bridging these gaps? ESSI is doing its own thing, but otherwise, beyond ESI and along with ESSI, how can we add this up? So I think there's a name flap change. Where is Akshay? So okay, Akshay, are you there?
Yes, sir, very much here.
Okay, yeah. So okay, can we start with you again? You mentioned something, but can we have some structured inputs? That how do we actually work around? We are together in it. So problem has been identified. Okay, and I think it has been known for more than a decade, the gap area, that we missed electronic hardware bus. But now we need to catch up and catch up fast. How do we do this? Any thoughts?
I would like to just opine from based on some of our experiences in terms of growth and at DSP Works what we are doing.
Yeah.
So I think one is from competence point of view, that center of excellence may be one point, but I feel that many a times innovation may not exist only at center of excellence, because it is not something which can happen it is by brushing of your daily task, your daily work, and it does not happen just because you are going to sit somewhere and think that I want to innovate. So if the hiring can be somehow incentivized by SMEs, that if a SME is hiring someone, as you mentioned, that your people whom you hired around somewhere who are luminaries in the industry, so then if a SME, a MSME, or a technical company can be incentivized, it could be by giving some incentives on salaries, it could be by some other mechanisms, by giving some position in tender, some tangible, not intangible shabashi, but some tangible way in which the hiring, because if a company hires someone, trains them, and there is a 2 year, 3 year training period during which the employee then benefits and then goes and contributes or becomes an entrepreneur somewhere else. So then this kind of a thing, if it can be incentivized, it can go a long way in ensuring that I go and hire fresh people instead of trying to look only for experienced people, because there is some tangible, and the nation as a whole may also build upon it. Other thing, as I mentioned earlier, is if we can try and recognize this in some tenders. There is a tender and it is recognized that this particular tender can create this many jobs.
I think you have made your point, Akshay, time and again. The point is, what do you mean that only by the MSMEs or SMEs hiring freshers, they will train themselves and do that? But how do we build up the larger ecosystem? How do we train them? Well, beyond whom you can hire. Suppose there's a whole scheme that every scheme that you are asking for that is done, but that will still address a very small segment. How do we prepare them to be hired? Wholeheartedly. So today, when they come to you, you are very skeptical about them. Out of 50, you will select one which would look probable, but which may also not turn out to be really competent. Okay, but how do we increase that employability of the fresh engineers coming for employment? That is the challenge. That is a gap where we as a nation need to work, not only for, because see, I as a design house have trained more than 300 engineers in the last couple of decades. But is that enough? Well, how many can you hire in next 10 years? Come on. So we have millions of engineers waiting to be trained and skilled. That is the national challenge that we need to work together to addressing, beyond, helping ourselves as individual organization or individual as a person. But where do we do that? How do we?
Where I am trying to contribute and I see some hope and things shaping up is e-Yantra initiative at IIT Bombay. But that again is not sufficient. We need many more such where problems are floated. And the problems.
Can you share? Can you share what is that model? What are you doing in e-Mantra?
So e-Yantra at IIT Bombay, it is started by Professor Kavi Arya, and now it is growing up. So there the thing is, up to now, it was like problems were floated, competitions were held, and students skill themselves so that they can contribute and build something for which a competition is held, and you get recognized. And now what we are trying to do is give problems which can be subsystems to a larger open source platform, which can again be referred to grow further. So it is a repository which can be referred by further engineers, and you have a past experience which is available to refer. You build for it and you compete using it, so that and it has to, I think, grow at multiple locations. Only one e-Yantra is not sufficient. There are multiple colleges which should come up with this, and I think all IITs, all leading institutes should first take position on this, where students can come. Competition is one way of getting recognition, because it is not to outbid other but to excel yourself. I would say that way. And then the reason that it has to be open source is because what you do is available in the public repository as a nation, as people, and it's not only to the nation, it let others also benefit, but so that there is a benefit and you can scale upon it further. You can find out flaws, which again is very important, to find out kya galti hua tha and how to improve that mistake.
No, but that's software only. How about hardware?
So hardware designs also, the proposal there is designs will be available. Your schematic, your Gerbers, what all can be done. But then you need to find a ecosystem of vendors. My thought was bring Raspberry Pi to India, where I say that, so Raspberry Pi may not be very useful in terms of final deployment, it may be lacking, but it has, what Dr. Amarjit mentioned, it has been very useful in trying to shape up the IoT ecosystem. So if you bring the IoT manufacturing here, it is not only the Raspberry Pi which is going to change, but the housing design, the sensor which are going to fit on the Raspberry Pi. So if there is such a model which comes up,
no, you are talking at a larger ecosystem level.
right.
I'm asking a very different question, Akshay. So, by the way, just to respond to you, there is a very close friend of mine in Bangalore who has developed an Indian Raspberry Pi with an open software ecosystem. It's a totally designed in India, okay, manufactured in India at volume at a very low price. At 1,000 rupees, he's giving a, you know what, your I think A5 core of this thing, complete hardware with everything, and you can create like a SOM. You can have a complete kit like a Raspberry Pi. You can have a carrier board also, or you can design your own carrier board. So those things are coming. But how do we skill the people?
So
Skilling is the challenge.
problem. So E-Yantra, what I said. So you need to give them problems and then need to either.
I give a problem, they will come at your, they'll go to Google or Stack Overflow, GitHub, they will find. That is not skilling. That is the real challenge.
Correct. But beyond that,
you had some thoughts, Dr. Amarjit. How do we skill them?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are multiple levels to it, right? So at some point, I also do not mind people. I mean, Stack Overflow, something like Stack Overflow for hardware could be actually a very good ecosystem, right? Where people can go learn, look at different problems and sort of redesign. I think it's a very difficult problem, and it has to start early in the game, right?
Now you're talking, yes.
Right. For example, I mean, again, I think a broad thought, but there have been a lot of negative publicity given to White Hat Junior on LinkedIn, etc., that they are sort of promoting coding, etc., right? But I mean, for example, this blog-based coding, and there are now, for example, platforms out there like BBC Microbit, right, where a 6-year-old can do a blog-based coding. That blog-based coding translates into a hex file. You connect a hardware over USB, you download that hex file, and then some LEDs blink on that hardware, right? Or you can sort of create your own step counter, etc., right? So I think, I mean, sort of starting maybe that early, right? That how sort of hardware and softwares are interacting with each other, right? To get people excited into hardware, and then over time, sort of creating fundamentals, as you mentioned. Sort of push people to see. In general, it's also very hard, right? I mean, a lot of software engineers in these days, the tools have become so sophisticated that they sort of tell you and guide you in the process of how you should be doing the coding, right? In a very similar way, perhaps, one can also argue that, look, not everybody needs to know all those fundamental things, and there could be tools around there that may guide you, and those tools will over time become more and more intelligent, right? Can we create skill sets where we also update our education system, right? Why should a 8086 still be taught in many curriculums even today in India, right? When it has lost.
Yeah.
One may argue that yes, 8086 is the core, right? I mean, you need to know the assembly language, etc., etc. But I mean, how many of us really need to know that assembly language? Yes, for certain tasks you need to know it, but for majority of those things you don't need to know. So I think it's also in the mindset, right? I mean, can the mindset be modified of people? Can we adapt our education system in linkage with how the world has moved on, right? And not sort of be left behind.
I get it. So I think that you remind me of something which if you remember, in one of your intern had recommended me to your faculty, and I had taken a course in IIIT Delhi long time back, in 2014 or something. And I think I had a very good experience. The students, we made them do everything. I told them no Raspberry Pi, no Arduino, and I told them that they created code from scratch on a ARM controller, I think from Freescale. And I got people from Freescale Design Lab from Noida to get them hands-on training for one full day on the tools, the software development tool and all that. And in reasonable time, they did some good, interesting job. They learned how to build up from scratch, okay, and rig up the hardware. So I think I understand. So we need to start at the educational institution level. But what is which you rightly pointed out, and I'd like to a little bit go deep dive into that. People do not understand what design is all about. So the question, design is the practice of intentional creation to enhance the world. It is a field of doing and making, creating great products and services that fit human needs, that delight and inform. Design is exciting because it calls upon the art and humanities, the social, the physical and biological sciences, engineering and business. Okay, but what is design thinking? We do not have that temperament. Design thinking comprises strategies for finding and solving problems by bringing an understanding of people and society to technology design, focusing upon design, the correct problem before rushing to a solution. I believe design thinking skills will be key success factor for a new generation of creative leaders in technology, particularly along with other domains also. But unfortunately, design faces a very uncertain future. The traditional design field creates artifacts, but now new societal challenges, cultural values, and technological opportunities require new skills. Design today is more human-centered and more social, more rooted in technology and science than ever before. However, there is a need for services and processes that do not require great craft skills that are the primary outcome of a design education. We are not talking a formal design education, but how do we, so what are the core characteristics of a design? Design thinking, ensuring that correct problem is beyond being solved. System thinking, cutting across and encompassing all disciplines that are needed to design the whole product system solution. Integrative, blending of practice and theory. Human-centered, assuring that people and technology work harmoniously as collaborative players. And so these are some of the things that we need to look at. And there is a complete step, a 10-step design process which you can find it on Google also, on the internet. So who teaches that in the college, or when they join a startup? Even the startups are also very in a hurry to get their products out. Okay, so it's a very simple 10-step process. Define the problem, do background research, specify requirements, brainstorm, evaluate, choose solution, develop and prototype solution, test solution. Then if it meets the requirement, fine, communicate with, otherwise go reiterate. It's a very old philosophy. But how do we do this? There's no one to teach all those things at the college level. When they come out in the field, we have all those training shops, embedded training. And to beat it all, I've been saying it loud for quite some time. Most of graduate engineers, even if they want to join embedded, what do? So they want to get trained. Private teaching shops, I'll not talk, the lesser said, the better it is. But even to talk about CDAC openly, they charge 70,000-80,000 rupees and 6 months course. But when a student comes out of that, he has a certificate from CDAC. He's 6 months down his career time. He's 70,000-80,000. His parents are 70,000 poorer, and he knows whole lot of new jargons and words. But ask him scratch the surface, and they are as raw as when they came out of college. Now, how do we change this? And we need to build up some ecosystem to bootstrap these engineers into skilling when they come to you. That is the kind of thing we are looking at. So how do we build that together? That would be something that we need to look at. Vinay, so do you have any thoughts on these kind of things?
No, Kishorji, you rightly pointed out all these points and challenges, certainly, which is today. And as we discussed, IoT, like even at the embedded hardware level, it has various different challenges. What from ST's side, I can see the addressing some common challenges or common things, because if I see from the development point of view, because as semiconductor being used in the development platforms, so some of the areas how we see and which can be upscaled, very fast in the for the nation. One is when we when we are talking about any, let me go to the base of it, which is the any platform which has been the development platform for any IoT development product. So one of the thing which we have seen, and like Dr. Amarjit also pointed out sometime, there has been the usage of even 8085 being taught in the academia even today. So one of the things which I've seen over 10 years, last 10 years, is that the initiative of semiconductor companies and especially ST working on the uniform platform like ARM itself, which has been widely used. So we have seen scaling or training the people who are going to join this, if they are being trained on one particular scalable platform. So I'll say that this is important, that we have the people who are getting trained on a scalable platform, so that when they go to different industries, whether it's the medical industry or appliances or automotive, so at least they can be, of course they have to learn the field expertise that will come with the experience, but at least the platform which they have learned, that is easily deployable there, so they don't have to redo all the skilling again. So we have seen like ARM Cortex as one of the key leading, and ST has been working very consistently on it. And we have seen thousands, 100Ks of the designs which are going around. So that is one area which we see to upscale as a scalable platforms. Yes, I agree on second point that even today, getting a good hardware, building a good hardware is not so easy. It's certainly a challenge. Even if you have to put a very small hardware, so you actually get too much challenged, because from where to get PCB designed or to do all this, it's not, even today we have to scale up that. So that's one skill for sure, which has to be taken up to grow up. Lekin in that field, what I feel that these hardware, from our side, we try to make the hardware which are also scalable in terms of that with a base platforms, you can scale up some IoT platform kits which are available as the complete packages. And they are not only the experimental packages, they actually are the packages where you can actually get connected to your mobile or mesh technologies, or you can get connected to cloud. And these complete packages also run together. So when we are talking to upskill them or reskill them, so these kind of things are important, so that you don't have to really work with the completely from the scratch. And third point is certainly where we see is the academia. At the time that we have to bridge the academia gap, you are talking about what ST is doing also in that area. So we also are working with many third-party experts, so that how it can be leveraged with the universities, how we can actually take it up to next level with the help of the different programs which can be for the academia. So I think these are two or three things where if they are taken up, we can upskill it a bit faster than what we expect.
So, okay, I understand Akshay wants to log off. So Akshay, you have any parting thoughts before you log off? You are in a hurry. Akshay?
No, sir, I think it has been covered up well now. So all that I would say is that what Dr. Amarjit mentioned in terms of catching them young, if something similar can be done, and some of the experience that I had at eYantra and as Vinay mentioned in terms of the design philosophies, then we can include that and try and impart and do something that would be good. And that's all from my end. If we can take it to the next step beyond this panel discussion and try and bring it to some shape, that will be really useful.
Okay, great. So I think before I hand it over for the audience questions, I think let me sum up. So I think the challenge is in IoT, there are two aspects when we talk about skilling. One is the design. Other is manufacturing. I think we do not have much challenge. The deployment, because it's a very complicated, complex system solution. So for designing, I think if you want to skill them for design, they need to understand the complete circuit diagram, all those blocks that I mentioned about. So they were all about design. But when it comes to deployment or even for servicing, basically it's more of deployment and servicing, field work. So that time, at that stage, the engineers whom we train, they may not know, as Dr. Amri very rightly said, they don't need to go into each and every component level details, but board level replacement, that's what they have to do and deploy. But the system as a working, how does the system work? And how do we test this in the field? So that level of training for that, basic understanding of the domain and all the layers and blocks of the IoT system solution, that somehow needs to be properly trained, which nobody tries to bother. Either someone is a hardware guy or someone is a software guy. IoT is a cross domain. You need to understand everything. You may be master of one, but you need to be jack of all the domains that are part of the IoT ecosystem, IoT system design, solution design. So this is something which we need to train our engineers or budding and whoever our candidates who come for. And I think the correct way would be like so I've been having this discussion with the MIT also. So they had a very interesting proposal. Even they gave it a name, National Institute of Design and Innovation in Electronics, NIDE. Okay, so there was a meeting a couple of years back, but I don't know what happened to that. I gave my inputs. So the thought is, how do we teach them? So we need to basically teach the students that how do they leverage the theoretical learning that they do as part of undergraduation into designing practical systems. So we need some master's program in the system, electronic system design. We need some maybe even PhDs. I remember 80s there used to be PhDs in experimental, but today most of the PhDs are theoretical, computation, all that software, this thing. So we need to go back to that experimental level, practical oriented research design, PhDs as well as master's program, and maybe we need some kind of a niche institutions like we had NID, NIFT. There, when they opened up, initially the first set of faculty was only from industry. They were not academicians. Nobody had a PhD anywhere. They were all maybe craftsmen, hands-on design people, manufacturing people from the respective domain in the industry. So we need that kind of a framework somewhere. We can start some kind of pilots where we have people from industry who teach this thing. People who have done the design hands-on can only teach design. People who has not done any design with their own hands, they can never teach design the product. How do they design? How do you do PCB design? How do you do layouting? It's not as simply using CAD. It's a good electronic design engineer can only design a good PCB layout, not the vice versa. PCB layout mostly is supposed to be a separate skill set, which is just a CAD this thing. Unless they know the nuances of RF, analog, all those high speed signal design, they will not be able to come up with the right kind of PCB layout. So these are some of the challenges we need to work on. This is my thought, but I think the problem is interesting, and at least I'm very happy. So I know ESSI has no answer as of now. Okay, and I think there was some question that does it mean that since I criticize the CDAC is bad and ESSI is good? No. Absolutely no. ESSI is just taking the baby steps into skilling. Their initial focus was on the bottom of the pyramid. Now they are going up the value chain and the levels of, so they have different L4, L5. They're focusing. That is why they're trying to understand what are the kind of skill set gap that they can focus on and build their NOS, build their qualification packs, and have some training partners, programs to skill the new breed to serve the industry. That was, I think, the thought. Okay, Karishma, am I right or wrong? Would you like to clarify something? I might have said something wrong. Karishma, yeah, you are on mute. Karishma, can you hear me? Yeah. Hello. Hello. Karishma, can you hear me? We can't hear you. No, I think you switch off video because your audio is getting. You can switch off the video and just talk. Please.
Am I audible now? Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. I think there was a bandwidth issue, so I think she should be okay. She's back. Yeah, Karishma?
Yes, sir, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Actually, due to low bandwidth Yeah.
No, it's
So you are absolutely right, because in the developed countries, they are following a certain structure to follow the skilling ecosystem and to skill the talent in the country. So the same way in our country, we are also try to set up a mechanism of skilling. So that is why ESSCI is here to skilling the youth in electronic sector. So that is why in this forum we I would like to say that ESSCI is here to collect the input from the industry, from the panelists, because you all are from the industry, and with all your inputs we would be able to as rightly said that because experience is very much required. That is why through the center of excellence and whatever we are doing through a skilling ecosystem, we will definitely try to give the training to the people so that industry can absorb the talent in their organization. So that is why we are here to get your input.
Okay, thank you, Karishma. So, Shweta and Venkatesh, are there any questions from the audience that we could answer, or you'd like us to answer? Venkatesh and Shweta, do you have any question for us, or you want to take? I can see a.
We'll just quickly check and we'll. Shweta, yes.
So we can have closing note from everyone because we don't see much questions.
No, but there are some questions, but they've not been answered. I think, okay, let me take a look myself.
In the personal chat box we have messaged you.
No, even Q&A. There's a question from Mr. PVJ Menon himself. Is it time for India to evolve standard for IoT, keeping in mind security consideration, data privacy, etc.? Yes, that is important. Why? Because standardization will help ecosystem to converge into build a common understanding about technologies, about protocols. So no proprietary flavors, mera wala cream, mera wala green, that kind of my shade of green, my shade of green. That does not because see, this is a very interesting problem, because in IoT, one of the things that most of the innovators, not India, globally, everyone is what they're trying to do. They try to create very proprietary kind of product system solutions, which means they will have captive customers. Captive customers in the beginning of the business, when you start your business, it looks very nice, very nice. The client cannot go. He will be dependent on you today, tomorrow, day after. Fine. But if it is a managed services business like Dr. Amarjeet is running, it's perfectly all right. But if you're selling products, system, solution, then it has to be interoperable. Interoperability is a very, very important. And like in our smart cities, if you look at it, we are going to deploy a whole lot of IoT product system solutions. Okay, I can give you a quick number like 250 million smart meters, 100 million smart street lights, and you keep on adding. The back of envelope calculation says we are going to deploy minimum 5 billion to up to 10 billion smart nodes in the civic infrastructure domain in India. Now imagine if they're all in the proprietary this thing, the whole market will remain fragmented. So we have already come up with some standards in Bureau of Indian Standard, which I'm leading this work. So we have some standard which will bring a clear direction for the IoT developers, entrepreneurs, startups, MSMEs, and companies to align their product specifications and even security to that, so that their products are certified, compliant, interoperable, and their market increases. And when the market increases, you have volume, you have scale, you can focus more on improving the quality, designing your products in a rugged, reliable way, making your products import substitution rather than importing board. You can start focusing on developing your in-house board, because now you have volume, and you can see the difference of the cost. If you import a hardware module for a gateway, then you design yourself once, and the bill of material of each board comes drastically down. It goes to half or 1/4 at times. Okay, so there are so many interesting points that a standardization will bring in, but I think is IoT ecosystem in India listening to all these things? That is a challenge. They are all busy in their own, rigmarole, whatever it is said and done. Then there's a question from Vandana Mittal. Okay, as rightly said, anyway, the working on hardware is an important part of learning about IoT. can panel briefly answer about how to start with it? What should be the first step or module to start with? So basically, if you really ask me, okay, and you have anything to say on this? Hardware, Vinay, your thoughts on hardware? How do people, people can start learning about hardware?
So in the hardware, actually, again, maybe as I was discussing, there are different components of it. So hardware itself is again fragmented into different things, whether we are talking about the software development platform, or we are talking about sensors, controls and all. So there again is different ways. But yeah, if I see as a beginner's hardware development platform, so that's where the development of learning a development platform is very important. And with this, for any developer, he has to understand which are those platforms available for IoT development. It could be from very tiny systems to very complex systems. So like there are in market different. If I talk about microcontroller technologies, we have different cores available. We have from 8-bit controllers, then we have 32-bit controllers today, even the process available. So based on the complexity of the hardware, the specific components, specific semiconductor platform can be selected and get started with this. So this can be a quick in starting point, but then Mr. Narang, you can add that what more complexities, because you know it much better, so you can go
Question
forward
not
on
for
this.
complexity. Complexity is when someone is starting is skilling and training.
Yeah.
How does he get a hang on the hardware aspects of designing? So I think the hardware of an IoT product, I'll talk about it, can be split into very simple blocks. One is, of course, the microcontroller and its surrounding peripherals. Other is the sensors. The other is the communication. And then there is a power supply, power management, power supply, and all that. So these are the macro level blocks. An MCU, microcontroller, microprocessor, and peripherals. The digital section, you can have the core, heart, brain of the IoT product. A communication module, okay, a sensor module, and the power supply energy management module. So these are so I think if you can just focus on these 4 or 5 modules and start getting gradually deeper into these 4 domains based on your preferences. Particularly, you'll need to anyway get into the embedded, the microcontroller processor base. How does this hardware? Because at the end of the day, whatever software you write into the microcontroller or microprocessor, it needs the design engineer needs to know what kind of signals will it be getting from the outside world. So there is a signal conditioning block with on the near the microcontroller itself, processor itself. Then when you want to drive a relay or a motor or that, there is some hardware interface power block. Before you run a motor, you run a relay. So those blocks you'll need to study those basic components. But you can start at block level, then go to power supply, then go to maybe sensors, which is very interesting part and relatively easier. Then is the communication. Communication, you can get ready-made module to start with. Don't need to worry much. But then sensor part, the power supply part, and microcontroller will be always you'll have to choose as per your requirement of the application product system that you're designing for that. So that is a good for a starter, I can tell you, but I can discuss more offline with anyone who is who needs it.
So just to add, Kishorji, on this. So like you rightly pointed out these blocks. So what is today is available in the market, that these all blocks also are available in modular form. So it means whether you're talking about the sensors technologies, we are talking about connectivity technologies. So those modules are available, and those modular approach is available, so that we can actually plug those modular approach on the platforms.
But the problem, we have it. This is the problem of India actually. We are looking at system
So
integration.
idea is to yes. So idea is to just to start with the with learning it. So obviously, then you have to go to real problems.
I think that skill we already have. Our all IoT startups are doing this only. They're picking up modules, integrating, and selling the solution. We need to go deeper. We need to make them, capable of developing their own sensor module in India, the microprocessor communication module in India gradually. For that, we need to skill the engineer or to test that properly. If not module, even if they don't design, how to test that? They need to understand how does it work. Not that you'll just connect, you'll get this data on the screen. I've taken a lot of interviews and done the hackathon, this thing, survey, judges. You connect this, you'll get this value 1, 2, 3. That is okay. If it's not coming, not okay. But how that signal is coming to this thing, whether it is analog or digital, they have nothing, no clue. How do you expect an IoT, or an engineer?
Yes.
You can't expect this kind of a lack of understanding. I'm sorry with that, but see, the focus here is not how to do business. We are not talking about that part. There's ample platform to talk about. Here we are looking at how do we identify the gap and try to build that bridge between, building the competence to innovate in India from scratch to final products. Conceived in India, designed in India, manufactured in India, sold all over the world. So make in global India. So that is the basic mantra. So how do we achieve this? This is what we need to look at. But I think ample has been said, and I think we can have further discussions with the ESI and all that, which should be all right. So unless there is, I think there is some more question. I'm working with some sensor like heart rate, temperature, but still do not know how to work on blood pressure measurement. I think I can take this question offline, Ms. Vandana Mathai. I'll be happy to answer this question, but this will be a lengthy answer. Although I can tell you, you need pressure sensors are readily available, okay, from NXP, which are absolutely designed for the blood pressure itself. And there will be ample application notes also, which you can interface with the microcontroller. That much I can tell you. You will have signal condition ready, up to 3 volt or 5 volt. I do not know which versions are available today, but earlier they used to have a complete range of it. So you can look at NXP pressure sensor portfolio, you'll find something. That's what I can say immediately. Okay, anything else from the chat side? Mr. Venkatesh, Shweta, could you point out any other question? No question?
Shweta?
As of now,
Oh, sir, we can have the closing notes, sir.
Okay, fair enough. So, Dr. Amarjeet, your closing thoughts. How do we bridge this gap? You have been an academician, so that's why I depend on you to, give us some concrete insight. And you may not participate in it. I know you are very busy in your startup.
No. I think, look, I think that we need to also see that whatever we want to skill people for, there should be a demand in the industry for that, right? So, I mean, I think to some extent, therefore, I disagree with your comment that, okay, we need to see, I mean, we are not interested in business per se, right? Because if business doesn't have a need, then skilling people has no.
That was not business. I mean, as part of this discussion, we are not interested.
Sure.
No, only as part of this discussion. No. My focus was not as a nation, as an ecosystem. Of course, without business, technology is not needed. So it was not it was wrong. This thing. Sorry.
Okay, maybe I misinterpreted.
No, that was never a thought.
I think overall, I feel that it's a mindset change, right? It's a mindset change that's required at different levels. Whether be it as a parent, do you want your kid to fiddle around with the hardware? As a teacher in the school, or as a faculty in the college, do you yourself understand the basic fundamentals and sort of take inspiration in sort of training the next generation of people, right? So like you were talking about design principles, design philosophy, right? I mean, these are easier said than done things, right? You need to yourself have passion to then train the ongoing generation or the coming generation for and equip them with the right skill sets, right? I mean, these can't be trained with just books.
No,
design methodology cannot be trained through textbooks, right? It has to be trained in the labs, and those people themselves then need to know what they are doing to pass on the right message. So at several levels, it's a mindset change, which I think that's where perhaps some of these things like Atal Tinkering Lab, etc., are trying to say that can we put those seeds, can we at least create infrastructure so that those type of mindset changes can happen. I'm not sure how much of, I mean, it would be interesting to see that how much of thought processes have changed before and after establishing these type of, let's say, labs in schools or colleges. But yeah, I mean, I think it has to go at different levels, from parents to children in schools, to then children in sort of colleges, and then eventually what companies are adopting.
Thank you. Vinay, any last thoughts?
So I think we already discussed. I mean, the important was like we, as a panelist, and as from all of us, agreeing that we have to, some of the gap areas which we found and we discussed today. So I believe, like embedded, considering that embedded system equally is important for this IoT, and to
Absolutely.
upscale that with the
Absolutely.
gap areas we are identifying. So with these gap areas, once we know the challenges, like today we discussed some of them. So certainly
Mhm. We can't hear you.
also important that
So can you switch off your video, Vinay? Can you switch off your video? I think we are missing your voice. If you can hear me, you can just switch off your video and continue. We can't hear you. You are frozen. Okay. Can you hear me, Vinay? Yeah, Vinay.
so okay, fine. So I think not sure if
You
yes,
know,
I can hear you.
yeah.
Yeah,
We missed all your this thing. Or
yes,
last
I can
one.
hear you. I don't know whether I was audible.
No, you're not audible because there was bandwidth issue. So if you will repeat that last 1 minute, what you said.
Okay. So
I think we have a serious issue. Mhm. I think we have a serious issue. I think, Vinay. Okay. Mhm. No, we can't hear anything. Okay, so I think then my parting shots would be a few very simple statements. One thing is that hardware is hard, truly hard, not like software is soft. So we need to, we lost our electronics, the hardware bus as a nation. So we need to anyway catch up that bus again. But how do we do that? It has to start right from the academic institution. How do we bring in that new education policy may say whatever, but how will we translate that policy into a real action and real this thing? So I think we need to bring that kind of a practical orientation in our curriculum, hands-on experience. So I think internship is very, very important. Or maybe, one of my thought would be that maybe we can have, instead of 4 years, earlier we used to have 5 years, or we can have at least one full semester internship, which is on hands-on. My embedded engineers always have a soldering experience. They can desolder and resolder all those, zero point 0.5 mm LQFP packages, 100 pin or 64 pin or 144 pin themselves. Do we have that kind of this thing? They are dependent on technicians, someone to come and desolder and resolder that. We don't have that compete, and that temperament is there. So what Dr. Amarjit said, that we need temperament. Yes. So temperament wise, I like to say one thing. Design engineers are not paid to do what would eventually happen. Design engineers are paid to do what otherwise would not happen. One thing. Second, and that is the onus on we as industry people, seniors and all that, is that if you want to, uh, make people build a ship, don't drum them up to, get planks, saw the wood and rig up a ship, or nail the planks and everything. No, just build a desire for the sea. How do we build that passion which I mentioned for innovation? If you have passion, how do we build that temperament, motivation into becoming a hardcore design engineer, innovator from scratch to end. If we can build up that mindset will have to go right beyond academic institutions and will have to go to societal level. That's what my personal thought is, but maybe wrong. But with that, I think I'd like to close the discussion. Over to you, Shweta and Venkatesh. Karishma, you have any last thoughts?
Sir, I would like to submit. Yes, I would like to submit by saying that we are looking forward to working with all the industry experts very closely. And this is the high time. I think we should, come together to work on skilling and what we are talking about in this forum. This is very informative. And I think that we should work together. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Amarjeet, and thank you, Vinay, for sharing your thoughts and this thing. So over to you, Venkatesh and Anjali.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Narang and all the panelists. We would hereby close the session.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.